Christmas is a time to look back on a year well spent. And if everything's gone well, it's a time when we're not just eating, we're feasting. No wonder that here at River Cottage we love it. In fact, we love it so much that this year, for the first time ever, we're throwing a Christmas fair.
It's going to be a magical night.
Cheers, everyone.
And Santa, of course, is coming. And his 3 River Cottage elves, Pam, Tim and myself, are all cooking up sumptuous treats.
Absolutely beautiful.
For a special Christmas fair hamper. And tables of fabulous festive food besides.
That's lovely. Cheers.
Cheers. That's really good.
I like that too a lot. Your stuff. Oh, that's delicious. Hey.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, everybody!
For most people, Christmas just wouldn't be Christmas without a bird at the centre of the table. But while 90% of us Brits will be tucking into turkey, at River Cottage we've never hidden the fact that we're not overly excited by that American interloper. For our fair, we're going back to a more ancient tradition.
When it comes to Christmas, there's only one bird for me. It's got to be a goose.
So guests at our Christmas shindig will be getting well and truly goosed, and I'm getting together with Gil to work out what we should stuff it with.
Are you up for a stuff-off?
Oh, definitely. A stuff-off sounds great. Always up for a competition with you.
Okay.
Always, yeah.
We better get on with it then.
Yeah.
We're each making our own stuffing. Mine's a sausage meat pear and celeriac affair. Gil's a bacon, date and parsnip concoction. And the winning stuffing will be served at the Christmas fair. All good stuffing recipes follow some simple rules. First, onions, finely chopped and sweated till soft and golden. I'm adding a few chopped almonds for a bit of nutty bite. And Gil's going salty and smoky with some home-cured bacon. While that lot's sizzling away, we're prepping the next key ingredients, root vegetables for both of us.
So here we've got an interesting overlap-ish. I mean, you're doing parsnip and I'm doing celeriac. If you had to choose once and for all and forever between celeriac and parsnip, where would you go?
You caught me out because I'd say celeriac as I grate parsnip.
I'm dicing my celeriac into small chunks so that it really stands out as an individual taste, while Gil is grating his parsnip to form the bulk of the stuffing and bind it all together. It looks worryingly good.
The combination with that sweet salty bacon. Absolutely lovely.
Thank you.
I'm getting nervous.
Yeah, you should be. Okay, so vegetables in, dates I'm going with. This is my fruity element.
I'm fruity time for me too, actually. Pear.
Pear. So you're fresh, I'm dried.
Yeah, I think we can say that in life.
Yeah. Well,
Fresh or dried, fruit is another staple of a good Christmas stuffing, adding a touch of seasonal sweetness. And then some herbs. Stuffing would be stuffed without them.
I'm going for sage.
I'm going thyme and a little bit of bay leaf.
Okay, well, do you know what? I'd love a little bit of your thyme as well as my sage.
Here you are, I've got a bit here.
Thank you very much. Stop it. Yes, you're getting the idea of the psychological warfare.
Yes.
It does actually come to you quite naturally.
Chuck the herbs in the pan for a couple of minutes, then mix it all with the fruit.
I'm catching up with you now in the porky department because this is just some really nice coarsely minced pork shoulder.
Lovely.
And then something to help round out the stuffing.
Some nice fresh breadcrumbs.
Thank you.
Next, a secret ingredient that I think guarantees victory.
The liver of the goose.
We kept that one quiet.
I think it's a great place to put it, the stuffing, because that way everyone gets a little taste.
Yeah.
Oh, juniper berries.
Yes.
Well, from a flavour point of view, that's really going to deliver a hit right through it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Juniper versus liver, eh?
And to wrap it all up, some subtle seasonings. For me, salt and pepper, plus mace, lemon zest, and a splash of port. While Gil's adding orange zest and chopped parsley, with an egg to bind it all together. And it's time to get mixing.
Oh, yeah.
And what I always do when improvising a new stuffing is to fry off a little patty to taste it. First, we'll try Gil's date, parsnip and smoked bacon number.
It's really nice. It's very sweet. You know, it's dominant, but that's good with goose, isn't it?
So yours?
Now for my combination of pork, celeriac, almond and pear.
It's really nice.
I think it's a little under-seasoned, actually.
After a few final seasoning tweaks, it's time to stuff our stuffings inside the goose.
I mean, what we're doing is quite classical, really, isn't it?
Yeah, 2 different stuffings, one at either end.
It's important not to fill the cavity completely. Leave some room at the top for hot air to circulate, so you cook the bird from the inside as well as out.
Let's get it in the oven.
Okay.
First, we're going to give the goose a good half-hour sizzle in a hot oven at about 210 degrees to get the heat moving through the meat and start crisping up the skin. After another 3 hours of slow cooking at 150 degrees, the meat should be ridiculously juicy and tender.
Your goose is cooked, guys.
A discerning jury will decide which stuffing gets served at our Christmas do.
So this is a very traditional, long, slow roast goose.
My stuffing's at the skewer end, Gil's is at the other, but only we know that.
Taste away.
That's really good.
That's quite sweet.
Bit nutty.
Dates. Mace. They're just really rich.
Okay, guys, all felt you're ready to cast your vote. So, non-skewer end, hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Skewer end, hands up. 5, 6, 8.
Cool.
2 to 1 in favour of the skewer.
Yes. Well done.
Sorry, mate.
No, it's all right.
You're stuffed.
Well and truly.
Coming up, I veg out with my favourite winter root.
Merry Christmas, celeriac.
Team up with Tim to take on the tricky problem of hangovers.
I'll be putting quite a lot more vodka in this.
And River Cottage turns edible for a gingerbread house competition.
If we're going to enjoy the unbridled pleasure of giving this Christmas, then we definitely want to avoid even the slightest suspicion of unwanted present syndrome. The answer, I would say, is to go for a hamper. But of course, for that really special touch, you'll want to make sure that a couple of things in there have been made with your own fair, loving hands.
And we're doing just that for the centrepiece hamper at our fabulous Christmas fair. Tim's making a gamey favourite of his, potted pheasant.
So first job, we need to debone the pheasant.
Tim's using just the breasts for his potted pheasant. The legs, wings and bones will be going in the stock pot. It's not hard to cut the breasts off the bird, but you can get the butcher to do it.
That's your pheasant meat. Easy.
The pheasant breast is coarsely minced with a couple of rashers of streaky bacon. To flavour up the meat, Tim's making a concentrated sauce with onions, garlic, red wine and a reduced stock.
Great, we'll get that on the stove with a little bit of goose fat.
Gently cook the onion and garlic in the fat and season with a little salt and pepper.
The next thing is to add a good portion of wine. And this is my secret ingredient. This is a pheasant stock that I made from the last lot of pheasants that I did. But I've sieved it and then reduced it right down. And what we're going to do is we're going to add that to that.
A pinch of spice is in order at this point, and Tim's using ground mace and star anise.
Inside each of these little star-shaped things is an aniseed. We'll put a few bits of the husk in there as well. And then 5 or 6 little peppercorns. And we'll just pound that little spice base up a little bit. And then I'll just sprinkle a little bit of mace in there, not too much. So next, we add the nice reduction, and that is seriously, wow, really intense. Smells good enough to eat. That's handy.
It's all mixed together and ideally goes back through the mincer one more time. And as ever, cook off a little sample to check that seasoning. In your own time, Tim.
Taste of pheasant, red wine, and that nice undertone of spices in there. We'll have a little bit more.
Finally, fill your sterilised jars with the mixture.
To the pièce de résistance, nice little bay leaf. Now I'm just going to put those into the oven, 160 degrees, for about an hour. When it's had a few days in the fridge, or even longer, those flavours will develop and it will be even nicer.
Over at Pam Corbin's, our queen of conserves is also preparing for the Christmas fair with a pear and apple cheese for the hamper. A fruit cheese is a sliceable fruity paste eaten with cold meats and cheese.
For this you really want to use some fairly firm pears, and I'm using some conference.
To make sure her cheese sets firm enough to slice, Pam's adding some pectin-packed Bramley apples. 1 kilo each of apples and pears, both get roughly chopped for the pot.
That's that done. Just a lovely mix of pears and apples. One last thing I'm going to put in, just one little clove, just to give a tiny little bit of flavour.
Gently simmer for 10 to 15 minutes before sieving the pips from the pulp to form a smooth puree. Then add 1 kilo of sugar.
Just keep stirring at this point until the sugar has totally dissolved.
And leave to